I am the VP of product at Epik, and Epik is the leading B2B NFT platform working with major brands and IP holders to create in-game NFTs. And a little background on me, I've been in the video game industry for most of my life. I worked 20 years at Nintendo, developing game consoles like the Nintendo 64, the Wii, the DS, and many games and apps for all of those. And in 2018, I joined Epik as a VP of product with the mission to bring NFTs into games. So let's go around the room here and have each person introduce themselves. Let's start with Mahmoud.
Well, I'm Mahmoud. I have been in big tech for most of my life, and then started angel investing, then got into VC. I've been gaming for most of my life. And we focus on Web3 investment and fintech. And we also invest in essentially accumulating, and we've been accumulating virtual real estate and virtual asset for the past 2 years, maybe.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Let's go to Brian.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Akaka. I'm the head of marketing at Laguna Games. We are a blockchain game company coming out with our first title called Crypto Unicorns. It should be out in a couple months in March of this year. We've already had our NFT unicorn sale as well as our land sale, and they both sold out within a few hours or a few minutes with our land sale. I've been involved with gaming for about 15 years now, starting kind of on the shareware side and then moving into mobile gaming in 2008. And I've been in blockchain gaming just a few months now, but I've been involved in crypto for a few years, and I'm very excited about the emergence of this entire space. So very excited to be on this panel with all you guys.
Excellent. Great to have you here. Dirk, you're next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dirk. I'm co-founder and co-CEO of Upland. Upland is what we call the Earth's Metaverse platform. So because we're based on the real world where people play, earn, and connect. You can see that up on the right corner here. And basically, people can purchase the properties which are based on real world property borders and earn a yield there. So that's the playing component. They then can build on it. They can, we have a play to earn component. They can run and operate businesses in Upland, and then connect means they can socially connect with others. So, and we launched in early 2020, and currently we have roughly 160,000 landowners, and great times, especially for the last 2 months, been growing very, very, very heavily.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Congratulations. Aggie, you're next.
Sure. It's a pleasure to be here on the panel with everybody else. Good to see you again, Dirk. So I'm CEO and founder of Splinterlands. Splinterlands is a trading card game where you can play anytime, trade anytime, and earn every win. We have something like 1.8 million registered users, 800,000 paying customers. We had our highest day at 508,000 daily active users. I'm in 142 countries, 9 different languages. We play maybe 8 to 11 million games per day. And we're typically in the 1 or 2 spot on DApp Radar, right up there with PancakeSwap. So we were founded in 2018. We are literally the biggest play to earn game by users. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here and to be on this panel and talking about the games that we love, the product that we love, and the ecosystem that we're all helping to build here.
Fantastic. Well, welcome everybody. Well, I suppose it wouldn't be a panel on metaverses if we didn't set the table first and talk about what a metaverse is. So I'm just going to ask everybody, each one of you, to tell us what your vision of what is a metaverse. So we'll start with Mahmoud.
To me, honestly, it's a very simple way. I see it as the old school gaming, but in a more, difference is 2 things. One is the immersiveness of it. So really it's more immersive. And the second part is the ownership. So, and interoperability. So I can own my assets and I can start use them and take advantage of them, not in like a garden wall like before, or still most of the current state, but mostly using the asset and taking advantage of it across different games, different realities, different platforms.
Great. How about Brian? How do you define the metaverse?
Sure, I'll take a crack at this one. I would say that the metaverse is, a space that has a lot of, I guess, corollaries and connections with the actual physical world. So things like being able to socialize and play games with other people, as well as, opportunities for ownership, transfer, economy to be able to earn income. These are all aspects of the metaverse, kind of loosely defined as going to be mapped, maybe in parallel to the real world. So, yeah, that's how I see it.
Great. Well, let's go to the real world guy, Dirk. How do you define the metaverse?
Yeah, actually, we say always it's a parallel world where people or users, they assume one or multiple identities, and that's it.
Okay.
To have it very
Well,
simple, and
simple
we
enough.
see it. Then you have, of course, the blockchain and non-blockchain parts of the metaverse. However, we always say there's only one metaverse, there's one universe, there's one internet, right? And then all the metaverse dApps or metaverse platforms, maybe, right? But there's only one metaverse.
I see.
Linguist, really, right?
Okay. Jesse, what's your take?
I think it'll be whatever anybody wants it to be. They'll call it a million different things for a million different reasons, and they'll slap it on there as a term to help them raise money and sell products to people that don't know better. I do think that there's something there where you have your kind of like virtual worlds, your virtual environments that you are gathering people, you are trading assets, digital assets that you own back and forth. Maybe you're participating in economies, maybe there's a game, maybe it's just communities, but it's generally some combination of those things. And, it's basically just a way for a bunch of dudes to hang out on the internet together.
And yeah,
Hopefully it's not all dudes. That's right.
I mean,
It's
it's
for
going to be a
sure
lot of dudes.
used a lot. I just saw on my Twitter stream the other day, there was CES here in Las Vegas, and there were one guy taking pictures of everyone, all companies, hardware companies, everyone using the word metaverse now in their marketing material. Is kind of funny to see, obviously.
Yeah, it's just going to be I'd like to raise more money. So this is now, instead of just being, like an app that helps you connect with other people, it'll be a metaverse app. And,
Exactly.
and they'll just hope that people throw dollar bills with them.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a place where probably a summary of what you've all said, but it's kind of a place where people meet and just have a shared experience with some other remote users. I think one of the key elements might be that they represent themselves in some form of unique digital identity. But maybe touching on what Aggie was just saying was I think there's three types of metaverses. There's ones that are just the pure social experience, like Second Life. There's ones that are social experiences where you can make games like Roblox. And then there's games that actually just become social experiences like Fortnite. Fortnite can consider itself a metaverse. I think it's just that way.
I think you should include rug pull.
Rug
The whole
pull.
fourth category of just rugs.
Interesting. All right, I'll add that.
Is
Well,
Zoom a metaverse? I don't know, just asking.
Zoom, wow, that's true. It probably is on its own. I think probably people spend more time in that metaverse than anything else these days. So the title of this session actually has us discussing metagaming, and I thought I would ask everybody, actually anybody, is there a definition of metagaming? Because I actually couldn't come up with one. Is this somehow different from gaming or like not metagaming? Does anybody have a definition of this? Is this something significant, or is this just an additional title that's thrown on the metaverse?
For me, actually, it's one of the first time I hear that. Maybe I have been living under a rock, but I mean, of course, it's clear what they mean with meta gaming. Meta for the like for the word saying beyond or something, and then gaming. Can interpret it now, everything. When you think about, in early days, people were extracting just the entertainment value out of games. Now, when you say meta gaming is, now you extract also monetary value out of it, because when you talk blockchains and so on. Otherwise, because I think that's just a universal theme. It's hard, very much, right? I don't think that there's a concrete definition, at least it makes sense here.
Is there some segment of games that take place in a metaverse? Like, is this some new segment or existing segment that just is getting more attention?
Oh, certainly, it's an existing segment that we're just kind of relabeling. right? I think that, games like World of Warcraft or RuneScape, any kind of multiplayer game that we've had for decades could be considered a multiverse or metaverse. But, so it's all a question of labeling, I think.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I want to make sure. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, maybe another element to that, like back to the beyond gaming, is maybe the additional piece of like the play to earn part, where now people can actually start earning and making a living out of the games. Maybe that's an additional element to meta games.
Okay. Well, then maybe it's just a new segment that we need to pay attention to in that respect. So let's move on to the next question. What do you feel the role of NFTs are in the metaverse and in metagames, if it's such a thing? We'll start with Dirk.
Yeah, it's all about the ownership, right? Because NFTs convey that, and but it goes way beyond that. Because first of all, when you think about, let's say, take a step back, when you had the old games where there was no NFTs, no blockchains involved, what I said earlier, you can only extract the entertainment value, no monetary value out of it. The game operator was always able to change, parts of the game economy, maybe change the exchange rate of the token or whatever, just to adopt things, and was always risky. So now, fast forward, now we are, these parts of the metaverse which are somehow NFT powered, gives you the ownership. But it's on one hand, because like 2 years ago, we were trying to avoid this whole, even the word NFTs. We were always trying to say, okay, we were talking about true ownership and so on. Now, of course, NFTs in every marketing lingo, everyone knows what that is. But to translate it maybe for the average users who are not necessarily crypto aficionados, basically it says, if you don't own it, you cannot sell it. So that's one thing, to explain maybe true ownership. And then when you own it, and it's very much like take your house at home, right? When you rent a house, you don't care, right? If it's maybe if something's broken or so, but it's your house, right? You start caring about it, you beautify it, and you do a lot of things. That's when you take this analogy now and transfer that to games. Now you can, you can take your assets, improve them, and maybe, but where we are not yet, to be honest, the whole idea of interoperability, because we have to face it right now. All parts of the metaverse, all the applications which are out there, somehow most of them acting pretty much autonomously, right? They're just in their particular world. We don't have that type of interoperability, and it's going to be difficult for games. Cannot just say, hey, you know what, we just connect, it goes all automatically. But all games, they have different UIs, and then all of a sudden, when you have like a sword which is very good in one game, but then you take it to the other game, you have immediately the same kind of skills with that sword, and what does this mean actually? And then it can actually also be a risk to those economies if you all of a sudden import one from left to right, and because then all of a sudden the whole economy is under threat because there's completely imbalance of the items. So that's my 2 cents here again.
Okay, great. Aggie, how about you? What's the role of NFTs in the metaverse?
Absolutely central. I mean, without digital ownership, that's where it starts. So without any doubt, the first thing that y'all think about is we own this. And that goes from how the Web 2.0 companies could simply extract value from users, whereas we can kind of give back value to community members. So every day that me and my partner wake up and start working on Splinterlands, we generally start with the question of, how do we provide as much value to our players as humanly possible? And then all other decisions flow from that. And I think one of the things that is the unsung story about NFTs is not just the ownership, because that's the most easily recognizable thing. Look, this is like a deed. It's a deed that I own this thing. But once you understand what the thing is, it's not just a digital deed. You understand that you have a programmable asset. And the landscape of what you can do once you have an asset that's programmable is basically a uncharted territory, because I don't think that there's ever been anything this unique or flexible or programmable. That's not just like a currency, but like a hard digital asset. I think that's a new frontier, and because it's code, it's basically a limitless frontier. Anything you can think, you can code. And so what the scope of what you can do with these will be is just incredible. And I it's hard, even as somebody that like tries to think of that 20-40 year vision, what can you do with all this stuff? I mean, literally it's we can redo everything that we do today, but we can do it where we're empowered, we're the owners, we're the like power is decentralized across all of us and all of our network, that our voices can't be silenced, our assets can't be stolen from us. And I really think that the center of that is NFTs. And I just don't think that there's any form of currency or money that's harder than an NFT. And it's the single most exciting technology in the world.
Well, I agree with you. Brian, what's your take?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I'm all on board on NFTs myself, as I think everybody else on this panel is too. And you know, I just kind of wanted to riff a little bit on what Dirk was saying about, you know, it's more than just ownership, but there's kind of a feeling of investment and attachment to these assets as well over time. And, you know, one thing that we have in Crypto Unicorns is we have this concept of plots of land where you can place buildings and level up your buildings, similar to like Clash of Clans, if you guys are familiar. You know, and people are going to be investing a lot of time into leveling up and building and arranging their plots of land. And what we're going to enable that Clash of Clans has not is actually for people to be able to transfer and sell these assets that they've invested so much time into building up and growing and be able to monetize that. So certainly I think that NFTs are going to unlock a whole nother level of yeah, just attachment and personal connection between a player and these objects.
Great. Mahmoud, how about you?
I feel it's gonna take some time. Like back to Derek's point, I think it will be interesting to see how we evolve and how we can use a utility of one NFT from one game to another. I think the obvious use case now and the easiest one that will be more established than gaming will be like how to flex your NFTs in the social world. So maybe I'm buying my Gucci. I bought me a Gucci sneaker and I can start using it at Blocktopia, and I can start using it in other places, etc. So I think that use case will probably be a much easier and to start with before like using using your soul in multiple places, etc. I also worry about the hype. So as an investor, I invest like in the fintech world as well. So in the fintech world, in the crypto fintech world, for example, I look for startups that don't bring up a blockchain or crypto jargons. Like essentially, I'm looking for a remittance app that is focusing on the feature set itself or the use case of the speed and how cheap it is to transfer money from one geographical region to another. And I think a sign of maturity for the NFTs and the gaming and the blockchain gaming ecosystem will be like not using of the word of NFT and basically start focusing on the feature set to the hardcore gamers. And I think when that happens, hardcore gamers will be more or what we call like old school gamers who have been in the gaming world way before crypto. They will be more, they will have a bigger appetite to get into NFT or blockchain gaming or play to earn gaming as opposed to now.
Excellent. Well, that's great. I think I agree with what everybody said here. You know, it's absolutely critical. I think it's fabric that ties the metaverse together. And I think it's also a two-way street. Like coming outside in, it's about bringing those licensed content and IP into a metaverse, and NFTs represent that license and even the supply of that content. But it's also inside out. Like when you buy a digital item in a metaverse, and really any game, it can just become an NFT. So yeah, we are at Epik. We're all in on that. We have this technology that enables any game or any metaverse really to have any NFTs in a matter of weeks. So it's a product that we have. So if you're interested, please talk to us. Let's talk about growth. What do you think has contributed the most to the astronomical growth of metaverses and NFTs too, while we're on this top subject in 2021? And where are we going in 2022? Let's start with Dirk.
So, I mean, it's easy to say, you know, with the announcement, when was it, early November, so from Mark Zuckerberg, you know, rebranding his company. that was probably which made a lot of hype, because we've seen, across the board, right, in Upland, but obviously also in other applications, everyone went up significantly in usage. So maybe there was an accident, or maybe it was, we don't know, right? So it's always hard to say. But we all, at the same time, we had a big conference in New York, like NFT NYC at the early November, right, where all the people got together. Everyone was talking about, lots of press releases around it. And it starts resonating with more and more people. You can take also the macroeconomic environments, right? People are looking now for alternative ways to invest, and especially, younger generations who've been growing up with games now. They understand, or they have a different, opinion, attitude towards digital goods, like than older generations. So they think much more, okay, if I can now purchase a piece of land in a metaverse, right, that's something worth to me. Like when our parents maybe have said, I buy an album of the Rolling Stones and have that, and that's something worth to me, right? So it's just a matter of time. It's a generational thing, but in general, also because there's so much news around it, and you see that lots of really lots of talented people entering now the metaverse. I think we'll just, we're just, as everyone says, right, we're just at the starting point right now.
Absolutely. Okay, Aggie, what do you think about the growth? Where were we in 2021? What was the contributor to that growth, and what's going on in 2022?
Well, I think the biggest macro picture that we should consider is the absolute kamikaze approach of federal banks around the world of infinitely planting and inflating currencies such that they are driving up inflation, driving up everything, and just being terrible stewards of the value of currencies around the world. And so, people are looking for stores of value, assets that can produce, and, ways to get return in markets that are just seemingly dysfunctional and completely absurd. So I think that's kind of like the macro picture. I think more micro to these days is really just proving it out that these companies are not just a handful of nerds that are living in basements, but are now unicorns that are worth billions and billions of dollars. And so as that keeps happening, once the first one is proved that hey, you can make $1 billion doing this, there's a lot of incentive to be there to participate in that, and not only grow your business, but look for other opportunities to go take handfuls of devs and a couple dudes in a Discord and turn that into $1 billion unicorn. So, and once you know that it's possible, that whole world opens up. So, Splinterlands was early, back in 2018, but we certainly get to ride the tailwinds of groups like Dapper Labs. NBA Top Shot earning billions of dollars, was phenomenal for the industry. I can't say everything that every company does is fantastic, but there are certainly parts that they trend set along the way. Axie Infinity raking in gazillions of dollars for them and their community is amazing. So I think you kind of that old adage of follow the money. And once money starts showing up here, and once they start proving out that crypto, blockchain, and this industry is the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of the world, and these companies can be billion-dollar enterprises, others are going to follow, and it's going to shift. It's a tectonic monetary shift.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Mahmoud, how about you?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Aggie as they keep printing money, and along with the pandemic and how it shifted resources in physical world, we will start seeing people looking for all kinds of alternative assets, and we'll start seeing gamers and non-gamers trying to use their time to make money. And Yatsu of Animoca brand keep talking about gaming to be the new way for universal income, and I'm hoping that will be the engine for the future, and that can be a way where old gamers can start seeing this now, and hopefully even conventional gaming studios can jump into this, but really not in a hypey way, but in a way that can promote income sharing among among in their ecosystem. So instead of them making 70 to 80%, actually 90% of the revenue, maybe they'll find it in their heart to start sharing that revenue using NFTs.
So do you see a big growth in play to earn in 2022?
Yes.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. Brian, how about you?
Okay. Yeah, I certainly would agree. With everybody on this panel, I think it's a confluence of factors. Certainly, money printing, the success of Roblox, the advent of crypto, just kind of the technologies all kind of coming together around the same time. The VR, the Oculus, and of course the VCs see that and they're willing to dump money into it now, and that attracts a whole bunch of a feeding frenzy. Darren, right before this talk, I was mentioning that I'm based in Manila, the Philippines. And so what we were really able to see here is just the effect of a play to earn game, Axie, and how it had on just the entire economy here. We've had quite a strict lockdown with COVID. People have been really limited in their opportunities to go out and earn a job, earn an income. They also don't really have much of a social net here as far as unemployment or things like that. So really, this was a lifesaver for hundreds of thousands of Filipinos, and gave them an opportunity to earn and join kind of a digital economy and something that's much bigger than maybe the local economy that they're living in. So yeah, it's been a game changer here in the Philippines.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people around the world were staying home in 2021, and I think that lack of physical interaction really definitely grew innovations in metaverses and games and NFTs, and we benefited from that, obviously. But I think the customers also benefit because it's like they've maybe found a new way to express themselves digitally, from ownership of art or fashion items, digital consumer goods, and so on. So I think that's kind of been the benefit over 2021. And as we see celebrities get into this space as well, it's like celebrities like Eminem, Steph Curry, and even in China, celebrities like Sean Wei. All these guys bought Bored Apes. It's the awareness of this is just growing leaps and bounds. And just in 2022, we just see it's going to be about mass market appeal and adoption. We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be an exciting year for all of us. So going to the next subject, what opportunities are there for brands and IP in the metaverse? Let me start with Mahmoud.
Well, I think it's essentially introducing new words. So now they have exposure to a big population that they have never had access to before, and it's one of the biggest population, and one of the most lucrative too. They are young in age, and you're looking at like more than 3 billion human affiliate themselves with gaming one way or another. So I'm excited to start seeing like what luxury brands will start building and catering to these folks, and also for the newcomers that are coming in, because I think there is like a wave of non-gamers that are starting to get into the scene because of the lockdown with the pandemic and what happened, and essentially like people are sitting at home, so they want to have more exposure to other realities or other ecosystems that they have never had access to or even were interested in. So will be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian, how about you? What opportunities are there for brands in metaverses?
Well, we've certainly seen a lot of brands already try and enter, right? Like a Reebok or Adidas and Nike and Burger King and McDonald's and Wendy's and Taco Bell. And I haven't really seen anybody do something that I've been particularly impressed with so far. It does kind of remind me of back, when mobile games were the new hot thing, and every brand, car company or what have you was trying to release a mobile game to highlight their brand. Very few brands were able to get it right from the very beginning. I think everybody sees the opportunity, but to able to translate that into, a good gameplay or, something that really captures the public's imagination, that's the challenge. And so Certainly, there's tons of opportunities to be first, right, and to be seen as a front runner and hip and in tune with the millennials. I'm reserving judgment on which brands are going to be able to get it right.
Okay, great. Dirk, how about you?
Sorry for me. Yeah, so I think important will be for brands not just do, sorry the word, but stupid drops, right? And just saying, hoping people purchasing something. I think it's going to be important for the brands to understand the context, how they're getting into a metaverse. It's more about retention and maybe engagement. So if they probably and then metaverse has the big advantage now, that they can actually have some utility. So if you're a car brand, right, maybe you enter as a car racing, enter car racing games or whatever, or mini games within a metaverse. It's going to be a little bit harder when you, for instance, let's say a producer of shampoos, right? What do you do? But I think then you have to probably think about a step further and say how we can extend your brand to the metaverse. So a shampoo, okay, you could in theory say, okay, there's an avatar who maybe washes his hair, but maybe you have to think in the direction more, okay, someone uses the shampoo and then he gets maybe some superpowers, just making up these examples, and then he can maybe run faster in the metaverse or what have you. Right? So these kind of things have probably developed by the brands, and I think they have to actually capture. It's not like in the good old Web 2.0 when social media came up and somehow that was managed by the internet. I think it's going to be a very strategic thing. We are actually seeing that also here in Upland. So we have a lot of brands approaching us at the moment who want to understand the metaverse, and they know that they have now a new opportunity, because obviously when you face it, that for instance in commerce, basically it's dominated by Amazon these days. Right, and I think lots of brands now see, hey, I can now connect directly to the consumer again and can provide unique experiences, with my brand, and that's what gets them excited, because they see that they don't want to miss the train again and want to be early and experiment. So I think we'll probably see hopefully good examples, more hopeful than when what we just mentioned with the mobile world, because now we can really have much more interaction.
Excellent. Aggie, how about you?
Yeah, I think it comes down to utility. In order for the brands to get in here and really get something out of it, they have to go provide something back to the community. Gaming is a great example. Board Ape Yacht Club and doing social enterprise experiences, I think, is a great example. You get into sports and it's something like own this NFT and you get to go get VIP treatment in a stadium or tie it to some sort of like real world experience. I think that's where you're going to get winners. I think a lot of the PFP projects, if they're done by brands, they might get hyped for a day or two, but a lot of those things will get buried later on. I think it's going to be the things that have real world utility, and that could be like some kind of financial impact and a play to earn experience. It could be some social setting of, you get to go meet stars or fans or whatever that you never would have gotten to meet before. You get to participate, and they could even do things where like, Burger King releases Burger Coin, and now you get to go spend. You earn it by talking about it or blogging about it or sharing something about their company, which gets you some Burger Coin, which you can then spend in their restaurants. Something like that. I think will end up dragging these guys in. But one of the benefits of bringing the brands in for all of us is how it kind of helps us grow this entire ecosystem by leaps and bounds. You have all this group that's already been aggregated. We bring them all here, and now it's just like it's gasoline on this fire. And the benefit to them, besides just having some utility or some people that are excited about it, you can imagine how all of them then, once they start staking that coin, staking that currency, staking that thing, they're not passive consumers anymore. But there's a lot of, I don't like the word investor, because investor is way too passive. But when you start staking a currency or staking a product or staking something, you are now financially tied to it, and you are still in the captain's chair, which is a weird experience, especially for people that aren't in that ecosystem. But you get to drive where your financial pathway goes, and you are doing it with a brand. And what you end up becoming is an absolute evangelical, missionary for that brand. So once you own that Burger Coin, once you own, I see it with my own players. So like guys will own our governance token Splinter Shards, or they'll own our NFTs, and then suddenly they become brand ambassadors for us. Like just previously, somebody like owned some playing cards. They might talk about the game with like a handful of friends, but they don't spend day in, day out talking about it and trying to convert other people the same way. You'll get a couple of those guys that become really evangelical. But our company has spent like probably around $100,000 in marketing in the last 3.5 years to get to the size that we are, and it's like a staggering amount of money when people consider like, how did you guys get so big but spend so little? It's really all been word of mouth, and it's really because one, we gave the community a good project, we gave them a good economy, we gave them a good community, but they, through their staking, they felt like they were equally participating. They'll say, we all go to the same moon. They all get that we all traveled in this economic vessel together, and they become the biggest enablers of this. So when the brands start understanding that you turn your passive consumer audience into raving evangelicals for your organization, this entire landscape changes. And it takes a lot to get it there. You can't just like throw them some random PFP and now everybody's on board. But if you can figure out utility, a project, a space, a vision, and communicate that with your audience, you can turn your passive consumer into raving lunatics for your brand.
That sounds like a great sales point for brands. Of course, yeah, brands want the greatest impact and some huge mass market reach. And some of them are like you pointed out, are making their own metaverses. I mean, H&M is a recent example of building their own metaverse, but really is one metaverse really going to give them mass market appeal? Epik is a digital licensing agency, and so we talk to brands all the time, and what we're hearing from them is that they are just trying to figure this all out, and they do want to explore and experiment. They're very excited about this space, and we're here to connect them with the metaverses and giving them new outlets for connecting these mass audiences. So we actually have something called the Epikverse. This is our solution to span across these individual metaverses to have shared experiences and content. So it is going to allow those brands to reach many more consumers. But the bottom line is, yes, there's huge opportunities for brands and IP here, and huge opportunities for the metaverses and games where that content's actually available too. So we're very excited about it.
Yeah, maybe just to add one thing, I think it's going to be interesting to see was when you think about how media always develops, they develop their own, let's say, metrics and KPIs, right? I think once it goes beyond experimenting, right, also the metaverse has to come up with something, right? Number of engagement points or, time of engagement. I don't know what that is going to be. But if you think about, in the past, you had in newspapers, you had circulation, right? With social media, you have click-through rates and whatever. I wonder what that is going to be. And there needs to be standards in order to be attractive to brands. Otherwise, it's just going to be an experiment for the brands coming in. They did that actually with Second Life. I remember like 15 or 18 years ago. I don't remember exactly when it was. But there was everyone was opening up some subsidiaries or something in Second Life. And then somehow, lots of brands stopped doing that. And, right now it's probably, if you don't get those metrics in, I think that's going to be challenging to keep the brands in there.
Okay. I think we're coming close to the end of our panel here, but I'd like to maybe ask one more question about Facebook, since it's the elephant in the room. Obviously, changing the name to Meta. Is it going to shape the metaverse and it's going to be a leader, or is a walled garden, maybe it will be perceived as a walled garden? Will it succeed? Is it like AOL at the dawn of a new era? Dirk, why don't you take a stab at that?
So I mean, of course, like everyone, I watched a 10-minute video and, trying to understand what they were doing. I think they also have more explanation and videos and so on. It's a little bit hard to say at this point, right? Where are they going to be a walled garden? They're going to set themselves up. What are they going to do with the massive amount of data they're going to have? I don't know whether people are going to be super happy if, all of a sudden, now you're in a metaverse and now that metaverse knows exactly your hobbies and your friends and everything. Right, and for some people it might be cool, for some others not. So there's a lot of questions I think which are currently unanswered, and I think time will tell how that is. And when you think about it, are they going to be interoperable also, right? Or are they going to just say, hey, we're just going to try and dominate it? So we don't know these at this point, right? And let's see. It's really hard to judge at this point. It's too early, I guess.
Aggie, do you have an opinion on this?
I think the Web 2.0 companies are dead set on extracting value from users rather than giving it back to users. And they have not been good stewards for long periods of their existence. And I don't see any reason to see why that will change when they get into the metaverse. So I imagine that there will be success. They'll get a whole bunch of users, but they'll be extracting value from all of them, and I guess they'll gleefully participate. But I think the people that are part of the crypto community, I see it with my gamers, where they'll play the game for a little bit, and then they'll tell me word for word, I'm never going back to traditional games again. Where I don't own the asset, I'm not going to participate. So I think they'll gather tons of people, and then they'll get this kind of Web 2.0 version of a metaverse, and they'll play in that, and it'll be a little bit dreary. Banksy did a mockery of Disneyland, of sort of this dark version of what a play park looks like. And I kind of see elements of that to the Web 2.0 metaverse. I think they called it Dismal Land. And, here I think it's going to be, it'll be flashy and fun and cool, but it won't have ownership and it won't have all the things that make crypto so powerful. So I think it'll be a wonderful gateway to get people to think about metaverses and then join others. They'll go participate in Upland, and, they'll go play Splinterlands and play with crypto unicorns. And then they'll be like, well, I get to own things here and I get to experience it here. Why would I go back to Meta? So I would like to thank Zuckerberg and Facebook for bringing millions of users to us.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it is hard to overlook the giant. I mean, obviously they're investing billions, $10 billion in this alone, I think, in this first year here. And it's hard to imagine they won't be successful in some way. Definitely fueling innovation and probably inspired, but it's really inspiring competition. But from our perspective, I don't think there is going to be one metaverse to rule them all. I think people have different tastes and preferences, and obviously different metaverses have different capabilities and how they're, attracting users. So for us, we're a B2B company, so we're going to work with everybody. It's about interoperability. Hopefully, Meta does have interoperability. So if they do, we'll be playing there as well. So I think we're out of time. So I just wanted to thank everybody for participating in this panel. Mahmoud, Brian, Dirk, and Aggie, thanks for chatting today. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the conference.
Thanks, Dan.
Talk with you all again soon.